This is your AP Government video on public policy. Remember, people elect others to government, or political parties help to get people elected because they want to make some type of policy change. You want to get a law passed, or you want to tweak some type of law that you disagree with. Well, there's lots of ways to do that. Winning elections is certainly one of them, and political parties can play a role in who we elect and who is going to represent the party's policies in an election. So winning elections causes political shifts, and then of course, depending upon who's the majority in the House, Senate, or the presidency, you need all three of those pieces in order to enact a federal law. So that can shift what types of policies and laws are getting passed. But winning elections also can change the way that political parties are trying to enact policy. The Trump election in 2016 is a great example. When he was running in the Republican primary, he was not the most popular choice by Republicans. A lot of the Republican Party really wanted a more establishment candidate, somebody like a Marco Rubio or a Jeb Bush. But Trump became very popular with Republican voters. And once he was elected and he beat Hillary Clinton, then Republicans started to warm up to Trump's idea and the way that he was trying to enact policy, even though it was not typical of what the Republican Party had done in the past. Then in 2020 and moving forward, does the Republican Party use the same types of ideas that Trump had, or do they go back to the more establishment type? The other thing that can help enact different types of policies are social movements. So sometimes people protest, or they do sit-ins, they write to their congressman. Large groups of people can start social movements online and not necessarily out in the public square. So here's an example. The gay rights movement, and particularly marriage equality, really came about very quickly. Lots of people had been, talking about this policy, and we started to see as particularly young people aged and they had a lot of gay and lesbian friends, this started to change policy. People started doing marches, people started writing to their congressmen, and we started to see state by state start to enact marriage equality laws, and then ultimately it went to the federal Supreme Court. The students of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas school, where there was a large school shooting, those students after this particular school shooting became advocates and very, very passionate advocates for gun reform. They started March for Our Lives, which is still going strong today, and they've actually been very successful, particularly for a young group, in registering voters and getting some gun rights policies changed in local laws. You also see all sorts of protest movements, some which start online and then become more action-based. Me Too or Black Lives Matter are examples. Some that are slightly older than those, the Tea Party movement or Occupy Wall Street as well. And sometimes people are passing laws just to try to restrict the other party's power. Sometimes we see that when one party does really well in an election, the other party will want to pass a bunch of laws restricting voter registration and voter mail-in ballots or early voting, because they see that the other party is now getting a lot of power and they want to restrict that so that they can win more easily in the future. All right, we're going to do active learning 2, so you have a series of questions. Number 1, what do you believe is the most important political, social, or protest movement of the last 10 years? Number 2, where did this movement start and where is it today? And 3, do you think it will or has been effective at making a policy change? So a lot of times we have social movements. Sometimes they fizzle out, sometimes they get small changes made, and sometimes they get large changes made.